This is evaluation question number 3, which is what have you learnt from your audience feedback? We got quite a lot of feedback, to be fair, which was expected really. The first one was more variety of shots to sort of like cut it down, like to make it a lot more, to make it flow a lot more, which means that we could have put a range of shots in, but with following the conventions of the fact that it's mostly establishing shots and long shots and close-ups. I don't know if we could have put a lot more in without challenging these conventions, if that makes sense. But what they did suggest, which was quite a good idea, was more shots of like the conversation between them. So rather than having to guess what was going on, there would be like intertitles or actual screenshots of the conversation going between them, which would actually have been quite a good thing to put in, I think. So I agree completely with that one. People wanted more meaning in the story. I'm not sure how much more we could have put in without making it a bit too complicated, but I guess the storyline was a bit on the simple side. I mean, there's not much action involved with two people meeting and it going wrong, I suppose, or much. There's not something really that intriguing about two people just getting to know each other and starting to like each other and stuff like that, so I suppose that is a good point as well. They said about consistency, I don't really think there was a lot of inconsistency. The story was simple enough to follow, so, and there wasn't really much that could be inconsistent, so I'm not sure entirely what they want with consistency. I suppose in a way that could mean that they wanted a more consistent story, so something set in stone that they could, I don't know, get their hands in, get their teeth into, or something more. I think what it means is they want more in there so that it's more in the story. I don't know. The music, which I have to admit was a major problem, because we weren't, neither of us were very musically talented, so it was quite hard to create music. So we used free sound or free play sound, or whichever a website it was, and we found music that went with it without it making it really, really cheesy, but it didn't peak in the right places, so it didn't enhance the emotions. So yeah, that's a really good point, but we did really struggle with the music, so I think for the future reference we need to either ask for help with the music or sort of spend more time focusing on it. Also with the music they wanted variety of sounds and tracks, so I suppose instead of having one piece we could have had a selection to go with the first part, which was based on both characters, and then the middle part, which is based on her, and then the end part, which was quite gloomy and a bit miserable. They also suggested that we exaggerate it. I think it would probably have been, would have probably altered the genre a bit. If we'd have exaggerated it slightly, it could have ended up being misinterpreted as a comedy, or it could have gone the wrong way. But I guess more like a black and white movie, if, you know, like with Charlie Chaplin and stuff, everything was over exaggerated just so it was easier to see. But with that sort of thing, that was comedy, not romantic or tragedy. It's not the same. So over exaggerating, I think, would change the genre completely. They also wanted humour with intertitles. intertitles, more intertitles would have been a really good idea. Having like the sound effects of like the phone and stuff like that put into the intertitles would have made it a lot more what's the word? A lot more consistent, I suppose. Humour in the intertitles would have also changed the genre of the main product in the end. I know that the old-fashioned theme and the intertitles worked in a comical way for the likes of Charlie Chaplin and stuff like that, but this was not what we were going for. We wanted the old-fashioned theme and the intertitles, but for the romance genre, and I don't think having humour in the intertitles or humour in the over-exaggeration would have benefited the genre at all. One of the last things was sort of half positive, half not so positive, was the black and white frames and the old firm looking grain apparently worked really well, but needed a bit more work. On the back of that, I think we could have spent a lot more time doing some editing, because the editing was quite a problem for us. It wasn't as easy as we thought it was going to be. There was a lot to put in and a lot to think about, and I think for future reference we're going to have to spend more time editing and things like that. Yeah. I think another thing to take from the feedback is that the film wasn't as good as it could have been if we'd have spent more time on the editing and the shots and the soundtracks. It would have been a really, really good product. The only other thing I can say is some of the shots were a lot darker than the others, and this was due to the fact that on one of the days of filming it was quite dark in comparison to the other day we filmed, which was really quite bright. And by the time we'd finished filming and everything and gotten all our footage together, we realised how dark it actually was, and by then it was a bit too late to start going back and refilming things. So for future reference we're going to have to like just time it better and leave enough time to film, to edit, and to like re-edit and perfect it, and still leaves plenty of time for the ancillary text and time to do everything else. But on the back of that, I think it wasn't a bad film. It was quite a good attempt, I think, and although it could have been better, I think it was alright to say the least. So hopefully, yeah, I hope the audience thought the same.